Every year, the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences, better known simply as the Academy, bestows awards for leading figures in the world of cinema. From films such as Godfather and Titanic, to directors such as Tarantino and Scorsese, and actors such as De Niro and DiCaprio, the Academy serves to recognize only the best in film. However, this year the Academy faced its toughest task. In the world we now live in, filled with viruses, masks, and social distancing, the movie-going experience has been diminished to virtual nothingness, greatly limiting the choices for the Academy. With all the uncertainty surrounding the film industry, moviegoers have feared that all hope for a great cinematic experience was lost. But like a flicker of hope in the darkness, there was one independent movie studio that, despite the countless obstacles facing the world, excelled even in the midst of cast changes, storyline rewrites, and behind-the-scenes drama that only occurs when you have a cast composed entirely of A-list actors. And that small independent movie studio produced an original screenplay that proved worthy of an Oscar. As a reminder, an original screenplay is based upon something that has not been published before. I think we can all agree that this year has definitely been original. So let's take a deeper look at what makes this studio stand out. So first, we have an outstanding group of producers. This team of executive producers, led by Dr. Dan Dawson, created the working vision that has ensured the studio continually propels itself upward. The on-set studio producer, head of school, Mr. Notaro, or Mike as he likes to sign his emails, navigated a situation like no other. Being a new producer is tough, but producing a new movie with a new cast and crew, all while navigating a global pandemic, seemed nearly impossible. But it wasn't. A good producer makes the impossible possible. The studio was also led by a band of terrific directors. In his directorial debut, Coach Stroh stepped forward for the first time and produced A-Push, which quickly became a crowd favorite. Ms. Caskey proved once again that she is unstoppable. Every year, she has dominated the categories of costume design and visual effects, continually obliterating the competition in both door decorating and fashion, all while showing us how to graph the inverse function of a sine graph. And who doesn't love a sweeping historical drama? In the category of production designer, Ms. Lee has no real competition. The production designer is the individual responsible for the overall aesthetic of the story. The production designer gives the viewer a sense of time period, the plot location, and the character's actions and feelings. Essentially, the production designer brings the story to life. And no one brings history to life quite like Ms. Lee. When you watch her animated short features, you better pay attention, because she moves fast. Her exuberance for history will make even the most uninterested moviegoer suddenly become captivated. And they will actually care that King Henry VIII's Star Chamber, and he was married to Catherine of Aragon, and that Henry of Navarre took over France, and somehow this all leads to Napoleon. The show must go on is Miss Prescott's motto. Not one to let a global pandemic close down her movie theater, she sprinkled some pixie dust in the air, and has not one but 2 adapted screenplays entering the Oscars this year. Some may have doubted her ability to produce a miracle of this magnitude, but when we saw Shrek Jr. on this stage last weekend, we all became believers. And there was not even a trace of doubt in our minds. And spoiler alert, in upcoming play She Kills Monsters, which opens next Thursday, we see a revival of the classic game Dungeons & Dragons. Well, I can tell you this much, in the best cinematography category, which is best described as the art of making motion picture, Ms. Prescott slayed the competition. Ram Tough is also a fan favorite for the documentary feature. Ram Tough chronicles the athletic journeys of a small but determined group of young athletes as they mount overwhelming odds to achieve success. They left us cheering in the stands until all of our voices were gone. Written and directed by athletic director, head coach, and Brazos Valley's 6-man football coach of the year, Adrian Adams, it's like watching a movie montage of our favorite sports films. The documentary highlights many Ram Tough coaches, such as Coach Goldsmith, who in her first year at Allen produced 6 first-team All-District players and a district championship to show for it. This is very hard to do, but Coach G knows that the hard is what makes it great. What do you do when you mix equal parts of Happy Gilmore's humor plus Jack Nichol's wisdom? Well, you get Coach Finley, who finally made the dream of Gall State come true. And under Coach Curley's direction, the cross-country team channeled their inner Forrest Gump and just kept running and running and running. The cheerleaders also could have crumbled under the pressure this year of COVID-19, but with Coach Boley at the helm, they looked the pandemic square in the face and said, "Bring it on." And the highlight of this Ram Tough documentary is the football team's revenge tour. This legendary team overcame adversity through their willingness to adapt to the ever-changing COVID environment. Their ability to capitalize on the vigor and partnership brought us many remember the Titans moments. The Rams left no doubt and ran it up as games very seldomly made it to the fourth quarter. Even though the Rams did not go home with the state title, there is no doubt in the minds of Lake Hill Prep that they will forever remember the day that they played the Rams. And last but not least, no movie is complete without its actors. Actors are the stars of the film, and boy does this independent studio produce some amazing actors. In their leading roles throughout this year, senior cast members such as Ryan Hassel, Brent Tucker, Louis Toussaint, and Tess Freeman have played characters and paved the way for us athletically and academically, showing us that sports and schools do not have to be an either or. They are following in the footsteps of other well-known actors who excelled in sports, such as Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who played defensive line, and Renee Zellweger, who played basketball. Even the younger actors held plenty of star power. Catherine Ortiz studied the art of multitasking in her studies this year, excelling as a student while also playing volleyball, tennis, and golf. She did this all while staying true to her craft by starring in intimate theater productions, and not just Hollywood blockbusters. Bailey Fannin had an extremely busy year this year, as well as a busy award ceremony last night, as she continues to prepare for her upcoming role, most likely as President of the United States. Dominic Lampo will most likely play her chief of staff, as he embodies leading through example through his athletic and extracurricular activities. Finally, our emerging star, Randy Savell, whose willingness to venture outside of his comfort zone propelled him to legendary status on the diamond. Known only as the Diz, Savell became a real studio hero, beloved by coaches and players alike. Apparently, Field of Dreams Iowa corn farmer Ray Kinsella was right when he said, "If you build it, they will come." Coach Adams built it, and the Diz came. So with all this being said, the Academy, who seamlessly had been put in an impossible position, ultimately saw a clear winner. They saw a studio with forward-thinking producers, dedicated directors, and actors who stopped at nothing in their pursuit of their passions. And they continue to thrive as they navigated all the unknowns that came with the global pandemic. This choice became overwhelmingly obvious. So without further ado, the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay goes to Allen Academy.